Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Today I stand up to reiterate the question that I had back, asking the Minister of Environment, Climate and Climate Change a specific question. So I'm going to reiterate the question that I did ask that day to the Environment Minister, and I'm hoping that the Parliamentary Secretary will be able to assist me with this. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister had dictated the provinces must collect his carbon tax. In true Liberal fashion, Premier Wynne has secretly planned to apply HST to their new cap-and-trade plan and will hide the cap-and-trade tax in the delivery charge. Ontarians are now paying more for heat and hydro, and also tax on tax. When will the Prime Minister stand up for Ontarians and tell his Ontario Liberal friends to start helping the middle class instead of taxing them to death? Now, unfortunately, the response that I received that day is this, and for anyone who's watching, Mr. Speaker, 80% of Canadians live in a jurisdiction where there is already a price on pollution. The good news is that provinces stepped up, but the previous government did not. We know that putting a price on what we do not want, pollution, will foster what we do want, which is good jobs, and so forth and so on. But I think if we look at, obviously, if we look at the question versus the answer that I received from the Minister, this is really not even touching the true issue. In Ontario, effective January 1st, the carbon tax was put forward. In Ontario, they're calling it the cap and trade. Now, we initially, and this came forward because Jeff Yurek, who's the member of Provincial Parliament and also representing Elgin Middlesex London, brought it to the attention of the Ontario government that the HST was being applied to this tax. So we already know that carbon tax is going to affect everyday Canadians by an increase on their food, their transportation, and anything else that they're going to be impacted by. In the province of Ontario, when you're looking at your Ontario hydro bill, carbon tax is not noted there. So when picking up the phone and calling the Hydro One, we found out that it is put in there under the delivery charge. Now, following that, that is where you can find that the HST is applied. So when you're looking at this, we're talking about a tax on tax. So this is a really huge concern for us, because if somebody's already having difficulties paying for their food, their hydro, their homes, we're now not only applying a 3 to 4% carbon tax, but we're also applying a 13% tax on that. And so I think we have to bring it forward. Now, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Environment and Climate Change said that there would be no impact and that it would be revenue neutral. But the Parliamentary Library has come forth and has indicated that is absolutely not the case, because the fact is we're not going to talk about the carbon tax, but we're going to talk about the tax on the tax. And that's the question that I really have for this government and for the Parliamentary Secretary today. They have an opportunity to do what is right, so that if we're trying to do something truly for climate change, that we're not just picking our winners and losers, and we're not nickel and diming Canadians. According to the Library of Parliament and information that was received, in Alberta and BC alone, $280 million is going to be collected. And therefore, we know that this is not revenue neutral. If all provinces are going to be doing the same, I am going to be asking this government, are they willing to reconsider not only the carbon tax, the cap and trade, but also the fact that you've now applied an additional 13% onto this. Canadians cannot afford this plan, and so I really want to ask the member, what are you going to do about the tax on tax?
I'm the member to address the question to the chair and not to the individual member. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and no offence taken. Madam Speaker, after 10 years of Conservative inaction on climate change, it's time to put a price on what we don't want, pollution. This just really does make sense. Polluting shouldn't be free, and polluters should not get a free ride. When we put a price on pollution, we can invest the money into things we do want: more jobs, better transportation, healthier communities, and cleaner energy. Madam Speaker, the evidence clearly shows that pricing carbon pollution is the most effective way to reduce emissions and grow the economy. It will also stimulate innovation, increase energy efficiency, and promote investment in clean technology. Madam Speaker, 97% of Canadians already live in a province that either has a price on pollution or has committed to doing so. Under our approach, we have given provinces and territories the flexibility to design their own policies to meet the federal benchmark, including their own policies to price carbon pollution. The revenues from these policies will remain in the province or territory where they originate, as we have always said. Provinces that price pollution are already using the revenue to put money back in the pockets of people who need it the most, by giving the money back to families through rebates, cutting personal income tax and small business taxes, and investing in support entrepreneurs and clean technologies that create good-paying middle-class jobs all around the country. This is already happening, Madam Speaker. While some provinces put the money right back in the pockets of Canadians in the form of a deep tax cut, others will invest in new clean businesses. Companies like New Flyer, Landmark Homes, and Sky Power Global are building innovative technologies like electric buses, energy-efficient homes, and solar panels, while creating good-paying middle-class jobs. Madam Speaker, in my riding, I have Alderville First Nation, and they have one of the largest solar farms on an Indigenous community. They now have a revenue stream, it's created jobs, and clean energy for communities. And also in my riding is a company called Tri-County Plastics in Brighton that has created a large shredder that is now able to recycle things that never have been able to be recycled before, and has created up to 20 new jobs in a town of about 3,000 people. This is why, Mr. Speaker, many leading Conservatives in Canada, including Preston Manning and Ontario Conservative leader Patrick Brown, all support carbon pricing. Madam Speaker, pricing carbon pollution is only one part of the climate plan that includes accelerating the phase-out of coal, developing a clean fuel standard, and taking action on short-lived climate pollutants. Canada's climate plan is one that economists, business leaders, and Canadians across the country have been calling for. It will allow us to meet our international obligations under the Paris Agreement on climate change and lay the foundation for the transition to a clean growth economy. It will also give us a competitive advantage in a market that Mark Carney, Governor of Bank of England, says is worth trillions of dollars. In 2015, over $300 billion was invested globally in renewable power. That's almost double the amount invested in fossil fuels. Unlike the party opposite, Madam Speaker, we recognize that in the modern age, economic development and environmental sustainability must go hand in hand. And unlike the party opposite, we know that strong environmental policies, including a price on carbon pollution, are crucial for generating the type of support that is required for major projects and ultimately
the honourable member for Elgin Middlesex London.
I appreciate all the words that the member said. I am not questioning the carbon tax. I am questioning the tax on tax. So I ask that we all put our speeches down and get down to what the real business is. This government has come out with a plan in which they're going to seek carbon pricing. Regardless of what we call it, I want to go on to step 2, where we see that provinces are having not only the carbon tax, but this federal government is going to be receiving GST into the federal coffers from already Canadians that are already being nickeled and dimed to death. This isn't about solar panels. This is not about windmills. This is about the fact that a revenue neutral program that they've said that they've put forward is not revenue neutral. So I'd ask the member from the other side to put down the papers and tell me the answers to my question. Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I will say again, unlike the Conservatives, we're focused on supporting middle-class Canadians and their families at every stage.
I just want to remind the member that she had the opportunity to ask the question. She should take the opportunity to listen to the answer and provide respect. Order. Order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Not only did the Conservatives vote against the Paris Agreement, but when it comes to middle-class Canadians, they opposed our government's reducing taxes for 9 million Canadians. a Canada Child benefit that helps 9 out of 10 Canadian families and will help raise 300,000 children out of poverty, and enhancements to student loans which will help 250,000 Canadians. Madam Speaker, our government is focused on both protecting our environment and growing our economy while helping the middle class and those working hard to join it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.